Dad won't spend Christmas with brother-in-law, and Mum is blaming my wife. So for backstory, I, 36 female, am married to the love of my life, 36 female, Kay. We met when we were 17, she was out and proud, while I was still in the closet. So we didn't start dating until I came out at 21. We got married in 2019, and have adopted our 4-year-old son, Jack. This comes in relevant in a minute. My sister, 27 female, Sarah, has a long-term boyfriend, 28 male, Steve, who the family cannot stand. They've been together for 8 years, and the whole family has hated him from the first time we met him. He is rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and all in all, is a crappy human being. He's also someone that likes to claim that he's just honest, but if someone is honest back to him, he flips out and sulks like a toddler. In fact, my toddler is better behaved than him. He isn't abusive to Sarah and doesn't direct these comments towards her, it's just the rest of us. He's actually a good partner to her and treats her well, which is his one redeeming quality. My dad and Kay hate him the most and will do anything to avoid him at family gatherings. Kay usually just ignores him and brushes off anything he says to her, as she doesn't like conflict. However, there have been a few occasions that she has said something back, but it's usually said in a joking manner, which amuses my dad to no end. My mum's a peacekeeper, and will do anything to avoid drama, so she just changes the topic whenever he starts. But she and my grandparents all hate him just as much as the rest of us. Sarah's the only one that obviously doesn't hate him. Our son's birth mother, Tess, was Kay's best friend, who sadly died in 2021. This was a real shock, as she had an underlying heart condition that she didn't know about and simply went to sleep one night and never woke up. Jack had been left alone in his cot all day screaming for his mum before Kay got worried that Tess wasn't answering her texts and went to their house to see if she was okay. She found Jack in his cot and Tess in her bed. We adopted Jack as no one in Tess's family was in a position to take him in. We raise him as our own, but he knows who Tess is. Obviously, this is a very sensitive topic for Kay, as it was traumatic for her and Jack. Now, on to what happened last weekend. It was the anniversary of Tess's death on Saturday, so Kay, Jack, and I went to visit her grave. Kay is always quiet after going to see her, and this time of year is especially hard for her. On Sunday, we had a family gathering at my parents' house. These happen every couple of months, just as a catch-up for everyone. At first, nothing was out of the ordinary. Kay and my dad were off to the side, talking as usual, only I could see that Kay was obviously struggling, so my dad and her went for a walk so she could clear her head. This is something they have done before, so nothing too unusual. However, Steve had an issue with this, and asked why they had left, and why he wasn't invited to walk with them. I explained that Tess and Kay just needed a minute. This wasn't good enough for Steve though, and he said that she should have gotten over it by now. At this, my granddad, who is naturally a very quiet guy, said that his best friend had died over 20 years ago, and he still had days where he missed him so much it hurts. You don't just get over something like that. Steve shut up at that. Kay and my dad got back, and she was in a much better mood. We all sat down at the table for our late lunch, and we started chatting. Everything was fine at first until Steve started trying to butt into Kay's conversation with my granddad. When it was obvious that they weren't going to include him, he very loudly stated, "This is bullshit. She's getting all of the attention from everyone because her friend died 3 effing years ago. Get over it, for F's sake, we're all sick of hearing about it." The whole table went silent, and I took one look at Kay and knew she was about to go off on Steve. Only, it didn't happen the way that I thought. Rather than exploding at him, she looked at him very calmly and said that her and Granddad weren't talking about Tess, they were making plans to take him to the Christmas markets, but if he wants to be a dick, then no problem. She then went on to say to him that everyone in the family hates him because he's a toxic, narcissistic F-word. That whenever he can't come to a family gathering, the whole family is much happier. That there's a reason he has no friends, and that his own family can't stand to be around him. That reason is that he's rotten from the inside out, And Tess may have only been on this planet for 32 years, but she's made a bigger impact on people than he would have if he lived until he was 150. That her funeral was crammed with people because she was so loved, whereas he would be lucky if anyone other than Sarah was at his. After that, she got up and went to the back garden, and I followed her. A few minutes later, my dad came out and said that he had told Sarah and Steve to leave. We went back inside, and Kay apologized to everyone and said that she should have just kept her mouth shut. Everyone other than my mum told her that what she had done was right, and it was about time someone told him. My dad then found it hilarious that a lesbian has been the one to tell him straight, which lightened the mood a lot. We spent the rest of the afternoon there before going to pick Jack up from Kay's mum's house, as she had him overnight on Saturday for us. The reason I'm making this post is that yesterday I got a call from Sarah saying that her and Steve wanted an apology from Kay, or they weren't going to Christmas. When I reminded her that we wouldn't be at Christmas either, as it's our year to spend it with Kay's mum, so it made no difference to us, she got really upset, saying that she wanted an apology because Kay was way out of line. I said that she wasn't, and that I wouldn't even contemplate asking her to apologize, because I agreed with everything she said, and so did everyone else there. She ended the call, and I just went back to work. And then today, my dad called me and asked if Kay's mum would mind a few more for Christmas, as he was refusing to spend it with Steve, so he and my granddad needed somewhere else to go. Apparently, after Sarah had called me, she called my mum and started ranting, and my mum had told my dad to get Kay to apologize, which she said no to, and they had an argument. And my dad has now decided that he is done with Steve, even if it affects his relationship with Sarah. He is not having it anymore. My mum wants Sarah there, and she won't go without Steve, so my dad is going somewhere else, and my granddad agreed with him. I text Kay's mum, and she said that they were welcome, so now my mum is furious and saying that my dad and Kay are ripping the family apart. So basically, this has turned into a shit show. Kay has said she will apologize if I want her to, just to keep the peace, but I've told her no way. Everything she said was true. I just don't know where to go from here, and the people in my life all hate Steve that much that Kay could have physically attacked him, and they would all still think that she is in the right. So that's why I'm asking internet strangers, who might have had to deal with difficult family members, what can we do to get into a place where we can be around each other amicably? I'm struggling to see a way right now. In the comments, What's My Password 73 says, for things to be peaceful, both parties need to want it. Kay did nothing wrong. I wouldn't ever spend another moment with Steve. I would let Sarah know that I love her and will see her anytime, anywhere, but I'll never see Steve again. If you have one guest that basically wants to shit on the holiday table, there is no path forward with them. OP replies, if it was just Sarah upset, then I wouldn't care, but it's my mum. She tries so hard to keep the whole family together, and she's devastated by what's going on. If it wasn't for her, then Sarah could go take a running jump for all I care right now. Joyful Song replies, so your mum is a classic enabler, willing to try to appease a bully at the expense of others. She is just as wrong. I'm sorry that she's being like this, but enablers are a huge reason that bullies get so bad. She also needs to suffer the consequences of her actions and start realizing that she is a huge part of the problem. And OP replies, I've just found out that my mum's parents aren't going now. They're going to my uncle's instead. I just hope that she wakes up soon. Hi04 says, Kay didn't do anything wrong and she shouldn't apologize. I'm shocked that your mum doesn't see it that way, but that's her choice to spend the holidays separately. The relationship your sister is in is unhealthy, and hopefully this will help her see it. When you're right, as you are, you should stand firm. And OP says, thanks, this is how I feel. It's just seeing my mum so upset hurts, as she is such a soft person and hates any type of conflict. On Sarah, OP says, this is the issue. Steve and Sarah don't see anything wrong in what he's done. It was just him being honest. I would be happier for her to apologize if Steve and Sarah admitted that what he said was in the wrong as well. Without that, I'm being stubborn about it. My dad told Kay that he will fall out with her if she apologizes, as she did nothing wrong. There was no screaming or shouting, she said it very calmly. I feel like I'm stuck between making my mum happy and doing what I believe to be right. My sister doesn't see anything wrong in what he says, as he's just being honest, but loses it when someone is honest back. I don't understand her anymore. On OP's mum, OP says, "Take the high road and rise above it" have been two of my mum's favorite things to say to us over the years. I just feel like enough is enough. He crossed a line this time that he can't come back from. I especially don't want my son around him when he's saying things like that about Tess. If I hear my mum say take the high road one more time, I'm gonna scream. I'm sick of the high road. I've been on it for 8 years. I'm happy on the low road now. Later that day, OP says, "Well, I've just found out that my granny and pa, my mum's parents, are going to my uncle's for Christmas and Steve is not invited. So it looks like it's just going to be Mum, Sarah, and Steve for Christmas this year." How OP feels about that? I feel vindicated, as my mum is like her parents. They're all peacekeepers, and if even they've had enough, then it just shows that he's not just stepped over the line, he's ran right past it. On her mum, OP says, "Kay's mum has already told her that if she changes her mind, then she is welcome at her house. Even if it's Christmas morning, she is more than welcome. Obviously, Steve and Sarah are not invited at all, but it's good that my mum has the option at least." And upon later reflection, OP says, "I've realized that he has been trying to target Kay and my dad's relationship as they are very close. They've traveled all over the country visiting classic car shows together, which Steve has tried to get in on, but he doesn't know anything about cars. So there's no point in him going even if they did like him. I actually think he's been trying to push Kay and I out of the family so that he gets my dad to himself, even though my dad can't stand him." And yeah, I know that was long and convoluted, but it's good to have as much information on these things that you can find. I guess my opinion here is that it's good that OP's mum is also being excluded. I really need her to learn the lesson of not enabling abusers, because it is just as bad as the abuser themselves. Hopefully this is a wake-up call for her, that when her entire tribe stands against her, she realizes that she is in the wrong, and she apologizes and joins her clan once again, because Sarah and her partner are just pieces of shit that deserve to be, excluded from these events. They were given chances time and time again, and they chose to abuse those chances and double down on those things. They are not reasonable people. We do not negotiate with people like that. They are bad for everyone's mental health. So thank you, OP, and everyone around you, OP, for sticking your ground on this. It's amazing when people have really shiny and solid spines that they can enforce their own boundaries and get everyone else to get behind them on that. And now, onto the update. Hi, I know how much this community loves an update, so I thought that I would give you one, as things seem to be sorting themselves out. Kind of. After I wrote my last post, a few things happened in the next couple of hours. The first thing was that I spoke to my grandparents on my mum's side. They were there when this all happened, but they're like my mum, and just constantly try to keep the peace. That's where she gets it from. They were supposed to be spending Christmas with my mum this year, but had changed their minds and decided to spend it with my uncle instead. They have made the decision to not be around Steve either, as he causes too much drama. They asked if they could come see us and Jack on the 23rd before they head off to my uncle's, which I happily agreed to. This really surprised me, and it outright shocked my mum, as like I said, they are the biggest take the high road type people I've ever met, but even they had had enough. The next thing that happened was that my dad called to let me know that Steve and Sarah had now decided that they wanted Kay to make a public apology in front of the whole family and admit that she was lying and that the family loved Steve. He was laughing as he told me this and called them delusional. So any small chance of a superficial apology went out the window. The third thing that happened was Jack getting home from after-school club with a recorder that I am sorely tempted to shove up the teacher's backside. So all in all, it wasn't a great day. Through talking to people on here, I also realized that Steve has been trying to push Kay and I out of the family, organizing trips that he knows we wouldn't be able to go on, but we wouldn't have gone on them anyway, as a weekend away with him sounds worse than a paper cut to the eyeball, and him constantly trying to get my dad away from Kay whenever we are all together. I think this is because he is jealous of Kay and Dad's relationship, as they are very close and go on trips to classic car shows several times a year together, usually with my granddad as well. Anyway, things went quiet for a few days until the weekend. Our town has a big Christmas fair that runs from November through December, and we always go to it with Mum, Dad, Granddad, and Kay's mum. We decided to cheer my mum up a bit to go on Sunday, and then out for dinner after. My mum was told that if Sarah or Steve showed up, then we would all leave, and she promised they wouldn't be there. Things were a bit awkward at first, but they settled after a while. At one point, Jack got my mum and dad to take him on the giant snowslide, and as my mum walked back over to us, she had tears in her eyes. I pull her to one side to see what's going on, and she said that whilst waiting in line, Jack had said he was happy that Uncle Steve wasn't here. When my mum asked why, he said that Uncle Steve was a bad man. My mum tried to say that he wasn't, but in typical stubborn 4-year-old fashion, he had argued and said that he learnt in school that people who say mean things all the time are bad people, and Uncle Steve said mean things all the time, so he was a bad man and that he didn't like him. There had been a case of bullying in his class a few weeks ago, and the teacher had done a lesson on how wrong bullying is, so I think that's where this came from. This finally broke through to my mum. If even a 4-year-old can see what a horrible prick the man is, then she had to as well. She said that she felt stuck because she hated Steve and agreed with everything that Kay has said, but she loves Sarah and doesn't want to isolate her. I told her that I would always be there for her, but I wasn't putting myself, Jack, or Kay through being around Steve again, and she needed to think about what she wants. Not what I want, or Dad, or Kay, or Jack, or her parents, or Sarah, or Steve, but what she wants. She went quiet and then said that Kay's mum had told her that she was welcome at hers for Christmas if she wanted to, and that she could decide on Christmas Day if she wanted. Kay's mum would save her a plate. We went back to the group, and a little while later, I saw my mum and Kay's mum having a deep discussion whilst walking behind us. Neither will say what they were talking about, but Mum seemed a bit happier after their talk. They have also been talking since, as yesterday, my mum told me that she will be coming to Kay's mum's for Christmas, and they've been talking about going shopping together next week. When Mum told Sarah after calling me, Sarah predictably lost her mind and said that my mum was choosing us over her. My mum told her that she was choosing to have a good Christmas rather than being belittled and made miserable all for the sake of Steve and his so-called honesty. Sarah then called me and asked if I was happy that I had won. She then did the unforgivable and used a few homophobic slurs towards me and Kay and called Jack the bastard of a whore. I ended the call, blocked her everywhere, and then let my family know what happened and that I never wanted to speak to her again. They are all as appalled as I am, and my granny, Mum's mum, called Sarah and apparently told her that she was dead to her as she won't have a bigot in her family. Sarah's been trying to reach out to apologize because she knows she has stepped over the unforgivable line, but I've just kept blocking the fake accounts that she is making on Instagram. Steve tried reaching out to my dad after this, and when he eventually answered, Steve tried to say that Sarah was just angry and didn't mean it. According to Mum, Dad ended up giving him a verbal lashing and told him that he was the worst thing that had ever happened to Sarah and our family. My dad has told Sarah that he is disgusted with her, but will be there for her if she leaves Steve, and until then, good luck. Mum has gone low contact as well, but wants to keep the door open so that Sarah isn't completely isolated. I had a few people saying that Steve may be abusive towards Sarah, but I really don't think he is. He usually acts like a dick when the attention isn't on him. He knows that when he says dickish things, then all of the attention is on him and he revels in it. After Sarah's outburst, I just think that they're both toxic and feed off of each other's toxicity. She's let him get away with the things that he says because she gets pleasure out of watching us all bite our tongues and keep quiet. So, Mum's angry, Dad's angry, our 3 grandparents are angry, extended family are angry, and Kay is being my rock. But I can tell that she's really angry about what she said towards Jack. I'm just sad and am done with it all. At least now I know what she really thinks about Jack, Kay, and myself, so there's that. Not the perfect update, but we move on. It'll be nice this Christmas to have both sides of the family together for the first time and not have to worry about Steve being a dick. But I'm sad that this is how my relationship with my sister has ended. I'm trying to get into the Christmas spirit, but it's a tough one right now. The only things that make me smile are Kay and Jack being goofy idiots to cheer me up. However, the recorder can go to hell. I curse whoever invented the thing. Like seriously, screw you. Thanks for all the support in my original post and opening my eyes to a few things. Maybe internet strangers are the way to go for advice after all. Hope you all have a good Christmas and holidays. In the comments, I don't think the dickish brother-in-law and Sarah saga has concluded. I'm glad you'll have a peaceful Christmas in theory. I just think the pair of them are not convinced yet that they're shut out. And OP says, it wouldn't surprise me if they try and turn up to my parents for Christmas. But we won't be there, so they won't get far. As long as they stay away from me, Kay, and Jack, then I don't care what they do. Another commenter says, may small children playing recorders with more enthusiasm than skill follow Steve everywhere. OP replies, this just made me laugh a little too hard. Thanks for that. Petty Princess says, I like that her son coming home with a recorder was bad enough to qualify being added to the post as a horrible thing happening. I get it, but I'm still amused by it. Honestly, OP is completely valid for that addition. Plastic recorders don't sound great when played by a master. Add in that kids tend to blow too hard, which makes the note sharp. It is the worst. As the saying goes, when you try to get everyone to get along and be agreeable, you give the least agreeable person all the power. People like Steve should never be catered to at the detriment of everyone else. Good riddance to good rubbish, I say. I hope that they are kept away this Christmas season, and I hope that they keep getting kept away. They keep away from you. Those two are disgusting and they deserve each other. There's really not much else to say. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. I very much appreciate it, and I wish you nothing but the best going forward. Our next post is by user ThrowRA titled, My 40 female, husband 45 male of 20 years says he no longer wants sex. How do I tell him that I can't live without it? So we haven't had sex properly for a few years. I've wanked him and blown him a few times, and he's fingered me to orgasm a few times, but that's it. He's been to the doctors, and his testosterone levels are good. We've been to couples therapy, singles therapy, and sex therapy, but nothing has worked. He just says that he's never in the mood for sex and can't be bothered. He only works part-time, which was his choice, and I work full-time. We have no problems or any other problems, so there's nothing that I know of that is ruining his sex drive. About a week ago, he came to me and said he would appreciate it if we didn't talk about sex anymore. He doesn't need or want it, and he's not interested in it at all anymore. I've tried to talk to him to ask if it's me in the past, and he said no, he just doesn't feel the need for it. The thing is, though, that I do. I'm desperate for it. I don't want to cheat and I don't want to lose him, but I can't go forever without it. I need to ask him if I can have sex outside the marriage, but I don't know how. In the comments, OK Willow says, have you told him that you don't want to go without sex for the foreseeable future? What scenarios would you be comfortable with for getting your needs met? What would he be comfortable with? Have the discussion. The two of you will either find consensus or decide to separate amicably. And OP says, I've told him that I can't go without it. I like it and I need it. He just said, then you need to learn how to go without. Let me ask you a question first, or maybe questions. Is lack of sex truly your only issue? You mentioned how he's working part-time by his choice. Is he contributing his half of the work to the relationship? Did all of your therapy not turn up anything but no sex? If you got permission to go out to a bar and have one-night stands to have sex, and then immediately come home, would that solve everything? Or would you be wanting affection and romance with your sex? So you still have enough love for your husband that if someone is offering you sex and the possibility of love, you would still choose him and walk away from the sex. OP says, he doesn't like the people that he works with, so being part-time helped relieve his stress. We split the housework. He's loving in other ways, and we still cuddle up and watch TV, etc., but he just has no interest in sex. It sounds stupid, as I can get myself off, but I just want to feel a man's body against mine and inside me. Self-love is not enough. Love as Thou Wilt replies, it doesn't sound stupid at all. Sex is a very important thing to a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is absolutely correct. There is nothing wrong with wanting sex, especially if you have been married for 20 years, though I understand after such an amount of time, people's needs change, people's brains change, their desires change. You know, you're not the same person you were 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It could be any number of possibilities as to why he no longer wants sex, and given the trend of Reddit and these stories, the more common one is that they're cheating, either emotionally or physically, or both. But at the same time, you know, what else is there if his testosterone levels are fine, you've been through all of this therapy? If he has just gone asexual all of a sudden, that's valid, but if you can't live without it and he's not going to change and there's no compromise, you don't really have much choice but to leave, really, do you? Because realistically, you're not going to stay in the relationship without sex. If it's as important to you as you say it is, then it sounds like it is a hill for you to die on. And now, onto the update. Thank you everyone for your support and messages. It means a lot. Well, it's 6 a.m. here, and we spent 4 hours talking about it last night until he stormed off to stay at his friend's house. That's how well the talk went. Just to clear a few things up from my original post, all his levels were above average for his age when tested, and the doctors concluded that there is no medical reason for his lack of libido. In bed every night, he sleeps naked next to me, and I can see and feel he is physically able to get hard. People asked me if he was depressed, and I don't think he is, but you never truly know what's happening in someone's head. He said that his last job was stressing him out, so we agreed that he would just work part-time. On that subject, a few people have said that I'm only with him for his money. Well, I earn £70,000 a year, and he earns between £10,000 to £15,000 a year, so no, I'm not. People asked if I had gotten fat. My weight has never been more than £5 difference, up or down, than the day that we met, and I'm currently 9 stone 6, 132 pounds to my American friends, at 5'7" tall. I've got big boobs, so they've gotten a bit saggier, but I can't help that. I was asked about frequency. At first we had sex a lot, then within 5 years it was down to once a month, and now the last time we had full sex was 4 years ago. Last time he fingered me was 2 years ago, and I gave him head 3 months ago. People asked if he was cheating, gay, or watched porn. I've searched his phone and never seen anything to suggest that. He's not secretive with his phone at all. Over the years, I've told him if he wants to explore his sexuality or other people, he can. I've offered him threesomes, I've told him that I'll do anything sexual he wants, nothing is off limits. He wasn't interested. So last night, I sat him down and told him, I know you don't like talking about this, and I respect the fact that you don't want sex anymore, but I do. So either open up the relationship so I can get my sex somewhere else, or I'm leaving. That brought on hours of ranting and raving. I'm a sex addict, I'm a slag, I don't love him, I've got no respect for myself, etc., etc. I stayed calm and said, you either need to tell me why you don't want to have sex with me, let me have sex outside the marriage, or we'll split up as we aren't compatible. Are you asexual, gay, depressed, just don't find me attractive? He said that it's none of those things. He just doesn't enjoy sex. It's boring, and he's got no interest in pleasing other people either. He'd rather just wank. When I asked him why we had sex so much at the start, he said that it was just to shut me up. I said, you've slept with over 50 people, but you don't like sex? He said he did it because of everyone else, and he was trying to find if there was a reason that everyone enjoyed it, but he realized that he just didn't. I wasn't sure I believed him, so I said, fine, if that's true, then I'll never bother you for sex again. But can I please have sex with other people? You can even choose them if it makes you more comfortable. You can be in control of all of it, just pick someone for me a couple of times a month. You can even watch if you want, or we can keep it completely separate and you'll never know anything. I won't tell you when I'm having sex or who with. I don't mind what the arrangement is as long as I can have sex. He just said, no effing way, and stormed out the door to his friend's house. So that's where we are. He's obviously told his friends, as I've had messages from some of them saying that I'm a slag and a cheater. I messaged my husband just now after he didn't answer the phone, even though he's awake, and said, you leaving and getting your friends to gang up on me tells me everything I need to know. I'll let you decide whether you want to stay in the house or not, but if you choose to stay, I will only be paying for my half of the mortgage until it's sold, and then you're on your own. I don't care what you tell people, I have all of the proof of our problems over text message, as you are a coward, and that's how you communicate. Goodbye, Daryl. It's heartbreaking, but I can't carry on feeling disrespected, and the fact that he has his friends insulting me and harassing me is too much. It feels like he's one step away from a Peaky Blinders post on social media about how silent and strong he is. So that's where I am. No answers on the sex problem, and there's no way I'm staying with him after the name-calling, storming out, and harassment by his friends. I don't know what more I could have done for this man. In the comments, Sipsy says, so he's asexual? At least in the sense that he doesn't like sex, but still wanks. Anyways, he's not understanding you, nor trying to address your needs, so that's probably it for the relationship. Elastigirl Was Better says, my thoughts exactly. Sounds like he's somewhere on the asexual spectrum. There are many asexual people who have sex for a variety of reasons, and many asexual people who don't like sex because they are not sexually attracted to anyone and rather get rid of arousal through masturbation. He's also a childish asshole who refuses to communicate and rather puts his wife down than have an honest conversation. I have a lot of love for the asexual community, but every group has bad eggs, and here is one. OP's tried everything and been nothing but supportive and understanding. I'm glad she's leaving and takes care of her own needs. She deserves it. And OP says, I still have a sneaking suspicion he's gay rather than asexual. Sufficient Oil replies, perhaps he found the gaycation of He found the gaycation! Hell yeah! What happens on gaycation stays on gaycation. Hoorah! On a serious note though, get the divorce and move on. His reasons don't really matter. You deserve a partner who is compatible with you, and he is not it. Plenty of other fish in the sea. Best wishes. Glassgirl says, it's rather shocking that he's comfortable enough to share this with all his friends, and that they're taking his side to the point of harassment. Makes you wonder if he mentioned her asking to open the marriage without sharing the little tidbit about him not wanting to have sex. Oh, he definitely twisted the story to be like, my wife told me either let me open the marriage or I'm divorcing you. So yeah, if you hear that in isolation, then I get why someone would be upset, but now I would never understand why someone would text the person. Offer support to your friend, but don't go harass others. Flixteria says, at this stage, I don't care how Daryl identifies. He can't communicate with his wife, he's bad-mouthing her to friends so much that they're verbally abusing her. Whatever his issue is, it's gone past the point of garnering any sympathy, and I hope that OP finds someone to satisfy her very, very soon. Yeah, you don't just go talk shit about your wife and change the story so much like that. I wonder if he would even tell them that, oh yeah, we haven't had sex in, how many years has it been now? I forget the last time we've had sex. And I've been more than happy with that. But anyway, she wants to have sex with someone else, and that ain't cool. When you present the story like that, isn't it crazy that the first thing coming to your mind isn't, wow, what a cheating, disgusting wife. Who does she think she is? You must be giving her so much sex that why would she want it from someone else? I don't understand these people, but the most logical explanation is that what's happening on gaycation is staying on gaycation, and maybe this husband can go be a third for those two in Ibiza. I'm definitely going to need an update about how much fun they're all having in Ibiza after this, because the fact that OP says, I really don't think he's asexual, that kind of tells me all I need to know. Regardless, thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. I very much appreciate it. Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!